Okay, so everybody, welcome for another live hangout with Pete. How you guys doing? It is supposed to be Zack Steffen versus Tyler Adams in the Champions League today. Unfortunately, Tyler Adams is on the bench, but Zack Steffen will start his fifth start of the season for Manchester City. Here's hoping he has a great game. How's everybody doing? Kenda King, John. Says, anyone know how long Steffen is staying at Manchester City? He just signed a contract until I think 2025. So it's going to be a little while. It's going to be there for a while, it seems like, unless they sell him. But usually if they believe in you, they wouldn't sign that long of a contract with you. So it's kind of a wait and see sort of situation. All right. How's everybody doing today? Dan W. Yeah, unfortunately, Adams is on the bench. Dahar Master says, why was Jesse Marsch sacked? Results. I mean, it's more complicated than that, obviously, but at the end of the day, it is about results. So the teams are coming onto the pitch for their getting ready to start. No fans, huh? I guess they must have changed the rules in Germany right now, where you can't really have fans because of the rising cases, which sucks. How's everybody else doing today? Anybody at work secretly watching on the lowdown? Yeah, Adams is on the bench. Kevin Campbell is there. Johnny on Thin Ice says, I'm at work listening in. LOL. Hi, Pete. Hi, Johnny. Well, what do you do for work, Johnny? Where are they in an empty stadium? So I believe they're in Leipzig Stadium, and Germany has had a lot of rising cases, COVID cases. So I think in certain, not in every stadium, but in a lot of stadiums, they've banned fans for now. So we're back to old COVID protocols. Ray Puma says online school privilege, can watch any match anytime. Cheers, Ray. Jake, how much do you think Jesse's sacking will affect his chance to become national team manager? And this is a really good question, Jake, because, you know, I'll say this. Greg Berhalter was fired from Hammarby, the second division of Sweden, and it did not stop him from becoming national team manager. I think the things that's stopping Jesse Marsch from becoming a national team manager have more to do with politics than with his actual ability as a coach. That being said, Jesse Marsch was not blameless either in this whole situation. In my opinion, and I'm going to do a whole video on Patreon, it's coming out today about this. Tactically, the intense high pressing, where you literally press to score goals instead of keeping the ball, it's not going to work anymore. Okay, there's a reason that Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel have adapted their styles of play. Okay, it is an antiquated system, and it's become easier and easier for teams to defend against it. So Jesse Marsch, if he wants to be successful as a coach long term, needs to add some tools to his toolbox. He can't just do this endless press, high line. It just doesn't. It does. First of all, you need very specific kind of players to do it. And second of all, players don't want to play that way. They just don't, right? You have to combine it with some possession, with some technical stuff. And it's not simple. And that's why I'm breaking it down on Patreon with clips so that people can understand it. And I'll talk a little bit more about it on Thursday. It's not all on Jesse Marsch. They didn't have the players to play that way. That was a huge problem, especially with your center backs, with Konate gone and Upamecano gone. Like, you can't play a high defensive line with not enough pressure on the ball with those two defenders, with Willy Orban there, it just doesn't work. So it's a whole separate discussion. Today, hey, Elias, I'm doing good, pal. How are you? Paul, Pete, do you think Gio plays before 2022? Haaland was supposed to be out until then, but has played 2 games now. I'm not sure where he's at, Paul. I'm optimistic that he'll get at least a sub appearance, but I don't know for sure. Jenna, how often does Adams usually start? Is it unusual that he's on the bench this game? So he doesn't start every game for Leipzig. He usually starts 2 out of 3 games, and then he'll usually rest for 1 game. It's a rotation thing. For people who are saying the reason Adams is not starting is because, he was like a Jesse Marsch favorite, I wouldn't read into that too much because he started many times under Julian Nagelsmann. And he's not a automatic starter, but he's a regular in the rotation. So I wouldn't worry about it too much at this point. And remember, the current coach is just a temporary coach anyways. So, all right. So the game is just kicked off. No Adams, but we do have Zack Steffen in goal. I'm curious to see. Sometimes, when a team fires their coach, they get a bump for 2 or 3 games. It's almost like a fresh start, and it's very invigorating for the players. And so sometimes they put together a couple of good results, or at least performances. So it'll be interesting to see how they go today. The thing is, Manchester City has already qualified, right? But that being said, people say, oh, they might not try as hard, or they might not be as. The thing is, all these guys, a lot of them are sub players, or players who are trying to earn a spot in the starting lineup more regularly. So they're trying to impress Pep Guardiola, including our guy, Zack Steffen. So. JL, I watch Brazilian player like Anthony and Jesus play, and I'm like, we don't have players of that quality. Yeah, but I mean, is that really a surprise? Are we Brazil? No, I'm not surprised by that. We're getting better. We're starting to produce better players, but we're not Brazil yet. Humongous Chris. Thoughts on Chris Armas going to Man United? As a Red Bulls fan, I'm shocked. I'm not particularly shocked. He's an assistant coach. I mean, the thing is, Ralf Rangnick wants to play a certain way. Okay, it's the same way as Jesse Marsch. Julian Nagelsmann, contrary to popular belief, did not play the same way that Ralf Rangnick or Jesse Marsch plays. He didn't play the Red Bull way. Okay, so Ralf Rangnick wants disciples. He wants assistant coaches that can teach the way he wants to play to the Man United players. Personally, I don't think Man United is set up to play that way either. I don't think this is a great marriage. I'm just going to say that off the top of my head. I don't think Man United is set up for a high, press with a high line. I just don't think the players are going to buy in. I don't think the players want to play that way. I think there are very few players, very high. Here's the thing. You can convince a bunch of athletic guys with strong work rate, but mediocre technique to play that way, because you can convince them that that'll be the best way that they'll create chances. For very strong technical players who can create on the ball, they don't want to play that way, right? They don't, which is why, they don't want to play that way at Liverpool, at Manchester City, at Chelsea. And their coaches understand that. And they have adopted a hybrid system of, there is some pressing, but they do not. Jesse Marsch is famous for saying, we don't press to win the ball, we press to score goals. And I just don't think most high-level players want to play that way, right? They want to be on the ball. They want to play. They want to use their skill, their technique to play. And so the other thing to think about with Chris Armas is, are these Man United guys going to listen to an American, and call it whatever you want? But he's not just an American. He's an American with a very limited CV, right? Assistant coach at Red Bulls, head of Red Bulls for a year and a half, fired. Head coach at Toronto, fired. No experience outside the United States. If I'm a Man United, like Ronaldo, Jadon Sancho, I don't know. You look at a guy, I don't know. I mean, I hope it works out. If it doesn't work out, it'll be a good experience for him. I'm sure he'll learn a lot. But I think the bigger problem is that people still think that Ralf Rangnick's way of playing football is going to be effective in this day and age. And I just don't think it is. I just don't. All right, we're 5 minutes in. I'm on 4:22 if anybody wants the time. How's everybody doing? Lance Tanwi. Bruno is an elite presser, and Fred and McTominay are hard workers. Sure. That doesn't mean that's how they want to create, though. Bruno, how does Bruno create chances, right? Bruno creates on the ball, okay? And so I don't know if this extreme verticality, to borrow a Greg Berhalter turn of phrase, is really going to get their juices flowing, right? You need buy-in from the players. You need players to really believe in what you're telling them. And if they don't believe in it, it's going to be very hard for them to execute it. And frankly, that's probably what happened with Jesse Marsch at Leipzig, was the players were used to playing more of a hybrid system under Nagelsmann, right? And Jesse Marsch came in and wanted to take them back to the old way of playing under Ralf Rangnick, which was a lot less on the ball, a lot more vertical, a lot more direct. And I just don't think the players bought in. Hey, Ken, how are you? So Manchester City dominating possession, as you would expect. Zack Steffen has had very little to do. I don't think he's even touched the ball yet. Leipzig currently on a breakaway here. Not really a lot of options. Good question by Matt Poliquin. Hey, Pete, can you explain why clubs like FC Dallas, after spending years and time and money on Pepi, has some obligation to sell him to a European club? So that's an interesting question, Matt. And the word obligation is an interesting one there, because I don't think Dallas has any obligation, right? But they do have, best practice to follow. Okay. You have to look at it this way. Ricardo Pepi is a talented player. Talented players are not going to want to stay in MLS for the rest of their career. At some point, you're going to have to either A, sell them, or B, let their contract run out and risk losing them for free. This is true not only in MLS, this is true all over the world. It's a global market, right? So when you have a really talented player who can play at a higher level, he's going to want to go. Now, it is in the club's best interest to sell him when his value is at its highest. Now, what the club has to decide is that value the highest right now? Can they wait another year and then maybe he goes to Qatar? Will he have a higher value then and then sell him? Possibly. But you also risk, Ricardo Pepi being unhappy, and feeling like he was priced out of a move. If you're saying we're not going to accept offers less than 15 million, that's certainly you're right. But you also have to think about, well, is holding on to Pepi now and risking him being unhappy in this coming year going to then affect his performance? And is it better to sell him now for a lower value with a higher sell-on clause and make the most value that we can out of that player? So nobody has an obligation to do anything, but you do have to keep in mind best practice, and you do have to think about what's best for the club, for the player. And again, the other thing to think about is, you have a lot of young players coming through the academy. You have to make sure those players continue to see an example of Dallas selling and being willing to sell a player when he, has a good offer that benefits all parties. Because if you don't see that, then you get a situation like Jonathan Gomez, who goes, I don't believe FC Dallas has my best interests at heart, so I'm not going to sign a pro contract with them. I'm going to go somewhere else. That makes sense? So you're right. They don't have an obligation to do so, but there's a lot of factors that they have to consider. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I personally think that it's a tough situation for Pepi right now because they value him so highly. The only clubs that can afford that are the bigger clubs, and he may not get a lot of playing time at these bigger clubs, which may impact his chances for 2022. So it's a little bit of a juggling act for Pepi right now. Is it worth staying one more year in MLS, balling out, getting guaranteed playing time regularly, being in form, hopefully, so you go into Qatar fit and firing, and then after Qatar, when your value is hopefully at a high level, then you sell, right? Maybe for Pepi, that's the best thing, because if you go to Wolfsburg now and they don't barely play you, do you end up going to Qatar? Like, that's something Pepi has to think about too. So it's a complex situation. There's a lot of moving parts. Ultimately, I just want Pepi playing soccer. I wouldn't hate it if he stayed another season, so long as he was happy to stay for one more year. If he goes, I hope he goes to a club that will play him, that will give him regular playing time and will develop him, make him better. I don't particularly believe that Wolfsburg is the best club for developing players. They haven't demonstrated that they like to give young players a chance. They haven't demonstrated really a whole lot from their academy. And most Americans who've gone to Wolfsburg have been struggling. So I'm not a huge fan of that move, but I'm open to being wrong. So it's all happening in Leipzig's half right now in the game. Lots of possession for Manchester City, as you would expect. Leipzig still look very flat. Even when they win the ball, they really don't know what they're supposed to be doing with it. You know, the other thing at Leipzig is they don't have a sporting director, and they haven't had one, you know. So there's a lot more to what's going on than just, oh, Jesse Marsch didn't do a good job, you know. Johnny on Thin Ice says, what club would you like him to go to? I would prefer a club like Ajax. I'm just not sure that Ajax can afford that price right now. You know, Ajax is a club that's very good at developing players. Salzburg would be another interesting move for Pepi, where I think he would get regular minutes. But again, you know, can Salzburg afford that kind of player? Doubt it. The only way I could see it possibly working out is if Leipzig buys Pepi and then they loan him out to Salzburg for a year. You know, that I could see being an option. Salzburg and Ajax are definitely my two choices. Salzburg, Ajax. I'm open to a few other options as well. Not a relegation team, please. We need somebody that's going to give him service. A Belgian club like Anderlecht, I can see that too. Honestly, most bigger teams in Holland or Belgium, I can see it. But Anderlecht is not going to pay $15 million for a player. Right now, Dallas needs to sell low, but sell reasonable, around the 10 million mark, and just put a high sell-on fee. So when the club that they sell to eventually sells him, they get 30%, you know, because he could easily sell for 40 million down the line, and 30% of 40 million, that's another 12, 13 million on top of the 10 million you already got. That's a good investment for Dallas. But more importantly, Dallas needs to figure out what they're doing with all that money, because they've been selling players, okay, but they waste a lot of that money on just terrible, terrible South American DPs that don't produce. That's making their club worse. And Dallas, for all their development, they can't get fans to come and show up to their games. You know, it's like, I get it. It's a club that outside of development is going nowhere. They can't challenge for titles. They don't have a direction they're heading in. It's all develop players and sell, right? And while that's great for national team fans, for Dallas fans, I empathize with them, because you want to support a club that you believe is going in a right direction and has a chance to challenge for trophies. And Dallas just has not looked like that for years, you know? So I empathize with Dallas fans. You know, you're selling all these young players. At least you want to feel like that money is being reinvested into the club, you know, and invested well. I mean, look at all the bust signings that Dallas have had over the last few years. All right, Leipzig on an attack in the box. Shoots straight at the defender. They look so clueless, Leipzig. So clueless. By the way, did anybody get this mug from the store? Tell me if you like it. I love it. I come in the morning, drink my coffee, and I drink out of this. It's great. All right. As a player's agent, how do you balance hyping up the player, telling him he can play at the highest level, and keeping humble, explaining the reality that he needs to go to a smaller club to play? I mean, I don't think it's an agent's job to hype up a player, right? That's his coach. Agent's job is to get him, is to look after his career, okay? And for most young players or even strikers, whoever, I would say look at Erling Haaland and how measured he has been with his career. Starts at Molde, goes to a slightly bigger club to Salzburg, and then instead of going to a super club, goes to is Steffen going to have a save to make here? Nope. Oh, dang, that was close. Did Steffen make the save? I think he did. I think he got down low enough to make the save. I mean, it wasn't. Oh, yeah, that was a save with his foot. Oh, that could have snuck in at the near post. That would have been a bad one to give up. Oh, no, it wasn't his foot. It was his hand. He got down quickly to save that. Well done, Steffen. Good save. What was I saying? Yeah, their job is not to hype them up. Their job is to look after their career. Oh, you're going to have to punch that better. Steffen, not the greatest punch in the world. Should have gone that way, away from goal. Yeah, so it's just about, as an agent, it's about making sure you're doing what's best for your player's career, right? For the guy's career, because ultimately that's going to benefit you in the long term as well. The problem is that a lot of agents are greedy or incompetent or both, and they end up doing what's best for them. They get the deal for their agent that's going to give them the most percentage of the fee, because that's what agents get, right? They get a percentage of the transfer fee, percentage of the salary, all of those things. And so most agents are just in it for the money. And a lot of young players, including some young Americans, signed with the wrong agent, and it is affecting their career. There are a lot of young guys, even from the LA Galaxy, that ended up signing with the wrong agent and are struggling now. Okay, I think you guys know who I'm talking about. So, yeah, most agents, not most agents, a lot of agents are greedy and incompetent, and players have to pick their agents very carefully and not allow emotions, right? Oh, he's a family friend. Oh, he looked after me when I was young. Just because he looked after you when he's young doesn't mean he has your best interests at heart. Ooh, nearly a Manchester City goal. So, yeah. Yeah, Chris, I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to loan him out. I would rather they loan him out to Salzburg than back to the Red Bulls. I just don't think that the way the Red Bulls are playing, it really fits his, skill set. But let's see. Let's see what happens with Caden Clark. This is a fun one. It's a fun question. This is not something I have a strong opinion about. I don't. I feel like they're both good at different things. I think it's pretty clear that Turner is a better shot stopper. Nice catch from Steffen there. Not, like the hardest catch in the world, but what you want for Steffen a lot of the time is just to get the simple things right, okay? Because he's been injury error prone in the past. And so sometimes just him doing the right things with the simple ball, making the saves he should make, claiming the crosses he should make, getting the distribution right, that will increase his confidence, which is really what you need with Steffen right now. What was I talking about? Yeah, so with Steffen is clearly better with his feet, and I think Turner is a better shot stopper, okay? Both of those things have massive impact on the game. Even though some people think that playing with your feet does not, it really does, especially if you're trying to play a possession soccer, right? So I would be fine with either of them playing. I think they both have strengths that I think can benefit us. The only thing with Matt Turner that you have to think about is you're not going to be able to play out of the back under pressure. And if you can't do that, then he's going to have to go long. And is going long just giving the ball away unnecessarily, right? Because we don't really play with a target man. So I don't know if him going long to someone like Pepi is really the best way to keep the ball, or are we just giving it away but higher up the field? So that's something to think about. With Zack Steffen, what you want to be thinking about is, well, on those saves that are on the edge, who's more likely to make the spectacular save, right? Where it's like close to unsavable. Who's going to make that save? More likely Turner than Steffen. So that's the other thing you have to think about. So I don't have a strong opinion about who should start. I'd probably prefer Steffen right now, but I totally understand why Turner would start. I get it. I do. With Turner, it's so like, it's really something he's got to work on. And this is the problem when players start playing soccer in their teens. They miss out on the golden age of technical development, right? Oh, save Zack Steffen. Woo! All right, let me see that again. Hang on. Oh, come on, show the replay on that. Anybody see that? Hang on, Steffen needed to be cleaner? What do you mean? I thought you made a great save. I only caught the last bit of it, though, so maybe I missed something. I'll get back to this in just a second, but I want to see the replay on this save. You seriously not going to show me the replay? Come on. We're just passing it around the back. Yeah, John. I don't know if he should be the number one, but I think he's getting a lot of disrespect just because he's not playing right now. He made a poor move, let's be honest. He should have gone somewhere where he was going to be the number one. It was a really poor move from Ethan Horvath. Really poor. And if you're not playing at all for a championship club, I mean, I guess I get why he's not being called up, you know? Are you seriously not going to show me the replay on that save from Zack Steffen? Come on, people. Pissing me off here. But yeah, let's just say, you know, Jack Grealish. Yeah, I would probably prefer Steffen, but I understand the desire for Turner's elite shot stopping. But oh yeah, what I was saying was you can't start playing soccer at 16 years old and then expect to be an elite player in the world. Okay? It's just not how soccer development works. And so I don't think Matt Turner's ever going to be elite. You know, because let's be honest, nowadays a goalkeeper who cannot play with his feet cannot be an elite player. They just can't. Elite teams require, the way that football is, require you to be able to play with your feet. And it's a huge disadvantage if you don't have one who can do that. He may be decent. He may even be very good. He may even end up in Europe one day. I don't think he's ever going to be an elite keeper. Same with a guy like Daryl Dike, who started playing soccer at 14 years old. Why do you think he's so technically poor? He missed the golden age of technical development, right? Which is 8 to 14 years old. That's when the best time to develop technique is. Leipzig on the counter. No ideas at all. I can't believe they didn't show us that replay on the Steffen save. Hey, Akshay. States FC, how you doing, buddy? Guys, anybody who is not subscribed to States FC, go do that now. Oh, yeah, guys. By the way, can you go like the stream? Don't forget to like the stream so other people can find us. Let's see. SKL. Thoughts on Miles Robinson Euro rumors? I don't take a lot of Twitter rumors so seriously, okay? The club has said there's no interest in Miles Robinson right now. I'm going to believe that a lot more than a few. Make the saves. Zach had to do better there. I mean, he was 1v1. Hang on. I don't know if that was a Steffen mistake. Let me see that again. Is he onside? I mean, he's 1v1 with the keeper. I don't know if that's really a mistake. I don't know. I'm not a goalkeeping expert, but generally speaking, 1v1 with the keeper like that, and you don't make the save or he dribbles around you. Let me see it again. Yeah, not sure that's a mistake, but he could have done better. That's what Jack's saying too. Steffen is not good. John Johnson. I don't know about that, John. Turner would have done better. This Turner versus Steffen debate is fascinating to me because both sides of the argument have compelling arguments. They do. And I think it's not clear-cut. I just don't think it's clear-cut. What we really need is a keeper who can do both, who can both play with their feet and be an excellent shot stopper. And I low-key think that's Ethan Horvath. But if you're not even playing at championship level, you're not going to start the national team. That's just the truth. Kenda King says Turner has never experienced players like these. That is true. Turner has never played at a high level. And he may one day, or at least a high-ish level. I don't know if he'll ever, be a Champions League keeper. Maybe. We'll see. He's 27. That's the other thing to think about Turner, right? It's not that he's like 21. So can he improve? Sure. But he's starting to enter into the prime years of a goalkeeper. Okay. He's 27, Chris. Oh, another save from Steffen. That was more straight at him than anything else. Now, he's, I think, or maybe he is 26. Let me double check. I think he's 27 already. Maybe he's still just 26. No, he's 27 already. He turned 27 in June. Akshay Singh, he almost got a shutout against the 2018 French team. Yeah, that France game was the best of his career, for sure. But, with a goalkeeper, you want consistency. And it's true that he has been inconsistent the last year or two, Zack Steffen, right? I don't know that not playing regularly has been a good thing for him. I think, honestly, I'm a little surprised he chose to stay with Man City another year. I know he gets some games. But I don't know that, he's in the phase of his career where he's still developing. And I think he needs to be playing regularly in order to get reps. And I just don't know that 10 games a year is the best thing for Steffen. Now, I know you can say, well, he's training under Pep Guardiola and all that is great, but that has diminishing returns after a while, right? Compared to playing regularly. So I'm not convinced that staying at Man City is the best thing for him right now. Maybe at some point he'll end up pulling a Tim Howard and getting sold to another Premier League team like an Everton. So, yeah, well, Kenny, I'm just talking about that right now. Hey, Josue, how are you? Yeah, I don't love that he's at Manchester City. I think for the first year it was okay, but I think he needs to be playing regularly. He's 26. He's at an age where he should be playing regularly, and I think after this season, if he's not the number one at City, which he won't be while Ederson is there, he should maybe ask for at least a loan. At least a loan, Jake, who would you start in Qatar between Weah and Aaronson? Weah. I would start Weah. I just think Aaronson is what people think Paul Arriola is, or what defenders of Paul Arriola think he is. Paul Arriola is a hard worker, which is very true of Brendan Aaronson. Brendan Aaronson is very good in combination, right? He can combine well with other players, and he's an extremely hard worker, but he isn't going to create on his own the way that Tim Weah can, right? Tim Weah has the technique and the athleticism to create completely on his own. He can beat players 1v1. He's very skillful in tight spaces. Aaronson is too, but he's more of I will create in combination with other players rather than I can create on my own, which is what Tim Weah can do. And that's why I think Weah is more valuable than Aaronson. Also, this idea that Weah doesn't work hard is just not true. He's an extremely hard worker. Extremely hard worker. Oh, Jack. KFC chicken. After Matt Turner and Steffen times are up, who will be the next goalkeeper for the USMNT? We just don't know, do we? Right? I mean, you're talking about another 8-9 years. I mean, they're 26 and 27, right? Same with, Horvath, 26. So, I mean, unless somebody comes in and starts performing better than all of them, I think it's going to be some time before that happens. But there are some interesting possibilities. There's obviously Gab Slonina. See how he develops. There's Chituru Odunze over in Leicester City. There's Alex Borto at Fulham. There's Jeff Dusnup over at RSL. Could have been David Ochoa, but, don't get me started on him. States FC. I still feel Tim Weah has a much higher ceiling than most of the fan base thinks. Yeah, I agree. I think he has really showed his value in the last couple of games when you started giving him starts, because he wasn't starting before, right? The fact that anybody, and by anybody I mean Greg, ever thought that Paul Arriola was a better option to start than Tim Weah, and there was plenty of mainstream media guys who were voicing support for that idea too, by the way, is just hilarious and sad to me, because the argument was always, Paul Arriola offers you so much with his work rate. It is such an old American soccer point of view that we're going to take the less skillful technical player with a very limited ceiling, with almost no end product in the final third, even against CONCACAF teams, because, he works hard. And I think that was very clear. As soon as we started Tim Weah, we immediately saw what we could have gotten. It's just completely ridiculous to me that anybody ever thought Arriola was a better option than Weah, including our head coach. Is Gio Reyna on the bench today? No, I don't think so. He's still working his way back from injury, but I can look it up. Let me look it up. Dortmund versus Besiktas. No lineups yet, but I don't think he is in there, no. I'd be very surprised if he's on the bench. Yeah, De La Fuente is the next one, Izonda, that the fact that, he is not being called up because Paul Arriola is hilarious also. I think the knock against Conrad De La Fuente that, people who argue for Arriola over him is that he doesn't have any end product, okay? And I think that's hilarious when you consider that in his last 14 competitive games for the USMNT, Paul Arriola has 1 assist and no goals. So if we're talking about a lack of end product, it's Paul Arriola. Furthermore, he has 2 assists in the French league this season, which is only 1 assist less than Tim Weah, okay? So if Tim Weah, who's also not been super productive in Ligue 1 this season, can be that productive for the national team, maybe we should understand that there are levels to this, and that a lack of end product in Ligue 1 doesn't mean that you can't be effective in CONCACAF. And that really the guy who's not effective in CONCACAF is the guy who's been playing so many minutes in CONCACAF and is still not being productive, right? So that's something to think about. KFC Chicken, what's your thoughts on the Jesse Marsch sacking? It's complicated. That's, I'm doing a video on Patreon today, tactically breaking down what Jesse Marsch, the reasons why they failed with him there. And on Thursday, I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in Thursday's video. What happened, why it happened, what it means. It's nuanced. There's a lot going on at Leipzig right now. There's a lot going on in world football right now. There's a lot going on with Jesse Marsch right now. And there's all factors. He's not blameless, but it's not totally his fault either. That's sort of how, I see it. Thoughts on Ledesma back in action? So happy to see that, Nick. So happy. Personally, I've always liked the skills he brings to the USMNT. His passing ability and vision is high quality and would be the best pure cross/free kick specialist. Yeah, let's hope we play him in the middle. Let's hope they play him in the middle. Greg Berhalter loves to take technical players and put them out wide. He doesn't like them in the middle. I think that's his skill set best suits himself to a attacking midfield position. But I know that Greg Berhalter doesn't see it that way. And we may not see him. I just hope he gets regular minutes for PSV, right? I hope he does. He could be a late sort of entry to Qatar, Maybe Berhalter won't call him up, though. I don't know. It's so hard to see how Berhalter seems to like his very athletic midfielders much more than technical midfielders, which is bizarre because Sebastian Lletget is the furthest thing from athletic I've ever seen, and he continues to be called up. Same with Christian Roldan. So who knows? Okay, good question here from John Johnston. Once a player is cap-tied like Ochoa, can they switch countries after a number of years? So they recently changed the FIFA rules. Before, once you have a competitive cap tie, okay, then you couldn't switch. So 1 competitive appearance, that was it. You were done. Now they've changed that rule that if you had 3 or less, then, 3 or less than 3 competitive games, and then 3 years went by where you didn't play for the national team, then you could make a switch. Now, Ochoa has not played any games for Mexico yet. So the difference with Ochoa, though, is that he filed a one-time switch. Once you file a one-time switch, it doesn't matter whether you play or not. You cannot switch back. That's why it's called a one-time switch. So once you file a one-time switch to play for a different country, that's it. He cannot play for the U.S. anymore. And I hope, look, with Ochoa, I don't think it's going to be that easy for him to break into Mexico. He said that Tata Martino was talking to him every day. Okay, guess what, bro? Tata Martino isn't going to be there past Qatar. Okay, so you made a decision based on current feelings, and maybe he says he made it because he always wanted to play for Mexico. I personally don't think that's as true as he's saying it was. I think he felt spited by the fact that he didn't play against that Costa Rica friendly, and Ethan Horvath did. And it was sort of him throwing a little bit of a temper tantrum. And maybe I'm putting words in Ochoa's mouth, but the whole way he's behaved during the one-time switch, like, listen, if you want to switch one time to represent a country, great. Okay. Look at Julian Araujo and the way that he did it, right? I'm sad that we didn't get Julian Araujo, but he was he was classy about the way he made his switch. David Ochoa liking a tweet in which Ethan Horvath made a mistake, saying he was mad that he didn't get to play against Costa Rica, his antics. I just don't think that David Ochoa, I think a kid has attitude problems. I do. And I think that he's a very inconsistent goalkeeper because of that. I think if he focused more on, improving as a goalkeeper rather than, shithousery, I think he'd be a better goalkeeper in the long term. And maybe he'll change. Maybe his attitude will change and he'll get serious and mature a little bit. He's still very young. So certainly he has time. But look at him this year for RSL. He's been extremely inconsistent. Some great saves and some just awful, awful mistakes. And I think a lot of that is down to maturity and focus, right? Being a goalkeeper requires excellent focus and concentration. And if your focus is on things other than goalkeeping, then that can absolutely affect your performance, right? So let's see. Yeah, and Jake, we all stood by David Ochoa after that mistake, right? That cost us the Olympics. We stood by him from what at least the vast majority of American fans stood by him, and we were happy that he was called into the Nations League. The guy has a Nations League medal, for crying out loud. And then you want to switch? It's like, okay, bro. I have no problem with that, Alex. All right, we have a Steffen save here. I mean, what a save. It was right at him. I don't know if it was that great. And I'm glad he saved it, but, that was right at his chest. Right at his chest. Y'all didn't go to the Olympics. Edwin, I have 3 words for you. Well, I have several things to say. 1, 2-0. 2, 3 wins in 2021. 0 wins for you. And 3, el quinto partido. Y'all can talk about youth tournaments all you want. We went to the Olympics. We won the under-17 this. All of our youth teams are so great. None of that helped you ever make it past the second round in or the first knockout game in a World Cup. Okay? Boom, 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 boom. See, this is where I disagree, Casey. Despite his immaturity, I think Ochoa made the best business decision. See, I don't think so. I genuinely think that, look, neither Steffen nor Turner are written in stone, right? In 2026, we don't know what the goalkeeping situation is going to look like, right? I think he made a decision too fast. There was no need to make a decision right now, right? See what happens after Qatar, Yes, Mexico's goalkeepers are old, but they also have Malagon and Acevedo, who are also very good keepers, both. So it's not like after these goalkeepers who are aging are gone, it's just going to be like Ochoa's to lose. You know what I mean? like Ochoa's spot automatically. He's still going to have to beat out some very good keepers. So I don't think it's as clear cut as people are making it out to be. But I mean, he made the decision he made, and whether for better or for worse, he'll have to live with it. Dan, thank you very much, Dan. Pete, is it a stretch to say that Musah is the most important USMNT player right now? Probably a bit of a stretch. I don't think he's the most important, but he's definitely up there. In terms of us being able to play through midfield, I think he's huge. I don't think he's a starter when Gio Reyna is healthy. So I wouldn't say he's the most important player for us right now. But definitely he's a growing piece for us. That's my, the more quality midfielders we have, the less we have to see of Leggett and Roldan, right? That's the beauty of it. The Hutch, this is true right now, but we don't know what it's going to look like long term. He could still, he's only 21, right? So for a goalkeeper, he's still very, very young. He could still develop into an excellent goalkeeper. But I think for him, he's got to sort out his mentality because, the best predictor of long-term success is not talent. I mean, it is talent, of course. You have to have a certain level of talent, but lots of guys have talent. After that, it's mentality. Because there are lots of elite, talented young players who never reach their full potential because of mentality, right? Lol. According to the Mexican media, Marcelo Flores is better than Gio Reyna. Dude, let them have it. It's got to be rough to be a Mexico fan these days with the way things are going for them. If your big hopes are Marcelo Flores and Diego Lainez, it's like, sure. If you need to tell yourself that to make up for the way things are going for you, go for it, bro. I mean, I feel like I just want to give him a hug, John, why don't you like Acosta? I don't dislike Acosta. What makes you think I don't like him? I don't think he is a guy who's going to help us get to the next level. And I think we should be looking for his replacement, somebody who can back up Adams more reliably. The problem with Acosta for me is that he's got a very low ceiling and he's extremely inconsistent as a player. And when you compress time and space, Acosta struggles. So I understand why he's in the roster right now because we don't have a lot of good backups for Tyler Adams. I don't dislike him as a person. I just think that, look, Acosta, how you feel about Acosta, in my opinion, should depend very much on what you think our national team should be, right? If you think our national team should be plucky underdogs on the world stage and a top 2 or 3 team in CONCACAF, then maybe Acosta has a spot on your team, right? If you want us to be what I think we can and should be, especially with this developing player pool, which is a top 10 team in the world, consistently challenging for trophies, then Acosta is not going to play a part in that. He has no role for that. He will not help us get to the next level. He is not somebody that if Tyler Adams goes down injured in the opening game in Qatar, you can think, oh, no problem, we've got Kellyn Acosta who can step in and the level doesn't drop, right? The level drops dramatically. So it's when you say, why don't you like Acosta, it has nothing to do with him as a person or liking or not liking him. I just don't think he can help us become the team that we're supposed to be, right? He just doesn't have that kind of quality. He's extremely inconsistent. There's a reason he's an MLS lifer, okay? And that's just the simple truth. He's a great MLS. Well, he's not even that great in MLS. He's a decent to good MLS player, right? Not DP level. He's not a guy who, is ever in consideration for best 11. I mean, look at the best 11 for MLS this year. The Americans on it are guys that most fans agree should be on the national team, or at least in the picture, right? Miles Robinson, Walker Zimmerman, Matt Turner. Then you've got Ricardo Pepi winning best young player, So, yeah, I just don't. Yeah, if you're above the age of 23 and you're still in MLS, you should at least be a best 11 or candidate for best 11 player to be considered for the national team. And Acosta isn't that, right? Josue says, hey, Pete, you know he might go to Europe. He may. I I would be a little bit surprised, Josue. And if so, it isn't going to be at a top 5 league level, right? It's going to be maybe somewhere in Belgium or the championship, which is not bad for a guy like Acosta. That's good. I don't see anybody paying a ton of money for Acosta right now. Maybe he goes on a free, right? Maybe he runs out his contract at some point and ends up going somewhere on a free transfer. Let's sort of wait and see what happens. But whether or not he goes to Europe, I think his ceiling remains the same, and I don't think he can benefit the national team in the long term. Like if we go to Qatar with Acosta as our backup 6, I'd be a little worried. You know what I mean? So halftime, Leipzig are winning 1-0. Whether or not Zack Steffen could have done better on that goal is up for debate. I think probably could have done better, but I don't think you can fault him for it. That's a tough 1v1. Other than that, he's made some good saves. He's claimed the crosses he has had to. And I think he's been pretty reliable with his feet. Paul Camdar, is City playing well? They're playing decently, but they've struggled to create in the final third. Lots of possession, not a lot of opportunities in the final third. Rogelio Zavala Cabrera. Hello there, Pete. You think Acosta, Roldan, Leggett, Ariola, and Zardes, Triple G's favorites, will make it to Qatar? It's a good question, Rogelio. I want to believe that the answer is no. But with Triple G, you just don't know. A lot can happen in a year, right? We've already seen some of these guys being phased out in the last 2 camps, most specifically Roldan and Leggett. But you just don't know with Berhalter, right? You just don't know. I do think that having Gio Reyna coming back, Conrad continuing to get minutes, Richie Ledesma making a comeback, all does not bode well for those guys. But in the past, we've seen Berhalter prefer those guys to more talented, better players multiple times. So it's just hard to know. I think of those 5, if I had to pick one that will probably go, my guess is going to be Acosta. Just because right now we don't have a clear backup. Now, to be fair, we've never tried anybody else at the backup, okay? And by that, I mean we've never tried a double pivot with, say, De La Torre and Musah or De La Torre and McKennie, right? We've never tried that, which I think we could have and should have at some point. De La Torre plays in a double pivot for Heracles. But Greg seems to want a single 6 in his 4-3-3. So right now it looks like it's going to be Acosta if Adams is not healthy. But let's wait and see, Rogelio. Let's wait and see. I think he'll use the excuse that Leggett and Roldan were tired from the season, so they'll be there in January. Yeah, it's possible, Bentley. It's possible. Let's wait and see. I hope to God that Greg Berhalter learns his lesson and that we don't need to see most of those guys anymore. But knowing Greg Berhalter, there's not enough evidence of that. I mean, there's some evidence that he's starting to go away from them, but in his mind, it could just be, they were in bad form, but they're still good players. So, yeah, let's wait and see what happens in January. Josue says, hey, Pete, who do you think will be our backup 6 long term? I'm going to go with Cardoso or Tessman. Could be. Could be. I mean, I don't know. There's also Owen Odesawi, who, by the way, is on the bench for Bruges. There's Aiden Morris, who's coming back from injury with Columbus Crew and is a strong candidate for that. So it's sort of a let's wait and see who, steps up to claim that spot. Maybe Christian Kappas could be an option long term. I don't know. But there are options, and it's a matter of them stepping up and saying, this is my spot. But they have to perform, right? They have to perform. Greenman, 1694. You think Tyler Adams has lost his spot with Leipzig? No. He's been on the bench before. It's one game. This is a temporary coach. I wouldn't read too much into it. He was there before Jesse Marsch got there and played regularly. He's going to continue to play as a quality player. So, Edwin A. Nice streams. Love the MX US rivalry and trash talk. Same, Edwin. Same. So, same. I don't think Reyna is in the squad. I'm looking now, but I don't think he's there. I think he's coming along, but he's not ready yet. Okay, they're watching. Oh, I missed it. God damn. They were showing the replay. And I missed the let me go back and see if it's still the first save that Zack Steffen made before that song gets me so hyped. Okay, Luis Maldonado. How are you, Luis? Currently reading How to Watch Football, the book you suggested. Great read. Keep up the great work. Almost done with my USSF Coach Youth License 2. All right, Luis. Good to hear it. Good to see it. I love it. Guys, if you want to, continue to increase your knowledge about the game, get your coaching licenses, read, study. There's so many tactical blogs all over, the internet. Increase your knowledge, right? Increase your knowledge, always. Always. But well done, Luis. You got your youth license. Is that the F? If the next one you should do is your D or E. I think it's F, E, and then D. Yeah. Was that your F or was that your E? Let me know. John Johnson. Do you think Anthony Robinson and Dest are too much of a defensive liability to both start in Qatar? Maybe Scally at left back to have more of a defensive presence without having to park the bus versus very top teams. I don't know, John. I think we have to figure out, in Qatar, we have to figure out the best way to play. And I think that may end up being a back three because I think you're right that both of those guys have defensive issues. They're not as bad as they used to be. They've certainly gotten better, but also we haven't played elite teams, right? We haven't played the elite teams of the world. And if you are going to play an elite team, I do think you have to think about the best way to play. I think a back three is probably the way to go, or a double pivot in midfield to be a little more defensively solid against top teams. And that's the other concern, right, is we're a year out from Qatar, and Greg doesn't have a good second option after the 4-3-3, right? We know he loves the 4-3-3. We know it can work with the right personnel. What we don't know is what is the alternative options if we don't have the 4-3-3. And in 2022, we need to make sure we develop another good option that the players know, that the players can get used to, and that is effective, that is proven to be effective. Because right now, we don't have that. And that's something that Greg has to work on. He's tried 3-4-2-1. It has not worked. He's got to try something else as a backup option because the 4-3-3 is nice, but it's very one-dimensional. And it doesn't give us options. And when players are injured, you need alternative ways of playing. You need alternative styles, formations. Not everything is just plug and play. Sometimes with Greg Berhalter, things feel very plug and play, right? It doesn't matter if it's Musah or Leggett in midfield, the style wins out. False. To quote Dwight Schrute, false. Pete, what are your thoughts on Diego Luna? I haven't seen him enough to really have a strong opinion about Diego Luna, Johnny. I don't watch USL as much as I should. I just don't have time. There's too many players to keep an eye on. Who's your back three? Richards, Brooks, and Robinson? Probably, yeah. Probably. Mexico has been considered the best team in the region because of their depth and success in CONCACAF before these last 2 years. Yeah, but that doesn't speak to who's the best now. I mean, the best now is clearly the United States. 1-2 trophies. Technically you could say Canada's ahead of us. Let's see who wins the Ocho, right? But if we win the Ocho and we have 1-2 trophies, it will not be in doubt. Yes, I really like this. John. 3-5-2 would be my way to go. A proper 3-5-2. I am going to talk about this on Thursday, Andrew, because it's complicated. I don't love it for various reasons, and I'll explain it better. But the simple version is that, at least in USL, these young players were playing against pros, and they were playing against grown men trying to win trophies with, stakes, trying to make the playoffs. Now they're just going to be playing against other guys their own age, so it's a glorified academy league. That's kind of my current thoughts on MLS Next Pro. I understand why they're doing it, but I don't know that it's the best thing for youth development, right? Harry Maurer. Hi, Pete. Thanks for all your videos. I've learned so much from you. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Harry. Appreciate it. Thanks for watching and hanging out and being a part of this community. So Loco Jefe says, didn't we struggle almost every time we played with a back three? Doesn't it make a difference if the center backs play that way at their clubs? So Loco Jefe, it's not so much the back three that was the problem. It was the way we played it. We played with this bizarre 3-4-2-1, which didn't, the only time it ever kind of worked was against Northern Ireland. And the reason it worked against Northern Ireland was because it's player personnel, right? Gio Reyna and Christian Pulisic were the two behind the striker. And that can work. And then if you have Adams and McKennie with wingbacks, maybe that can work. But I think you're probably better off having three in midfield. It's very hard to create these days with two in midfield. It just is. So, I would prefer a 3-5-2. We played 3-4-3 against Mexico in the Nations League final, and it didn't work. Even though we won, we were outclassed for most of that game. So, Humongous Chris says, there's going to be independent professional teams in MLS Next as well. Yeah, but right now there's only one, right? And so it's like, I don't know, even if there's going to be 3 or 4, that's not good enough. Like, you need to be playing week in and week out. If you're graduating from academy, but you're not quite ready yet for MLS, then the interim needs to be you're playing against good professional players. Maybe the level's not as high as MLS, but it needs to be a step up from academy. And I'm just not convinced that MLS Next Pro, MLS Next Pro is going to be a good enough gap. It feels like it's going to be a glorified academy league again. So I'm just not sure that's the best for player development. But I hope they get more professional teams in it. Right now, there's just one. So that doesn't really benefit the players, right? Yeah, this is the other part of, the back three we tried was Mark McKenzie, John Brooks, and Tim Reams. Yeah, there you go. And they attacked that left-hand side. And it was with Serginho Dest on the left, too. So it left this massive gap between John Brooks and Serginho Dest, where they kept trying to exploit it. They just couldn't exploit it because they didn't have the quality in the final third to exploit it. But a better team would have exploited that. In the 3-5-2, who are your two today? Pulisic and Pepi? Yes. Pulisic and Pepi would be my front two. Midfield would be Adams, McKennie, and Reyna. Yeah, but then you got and then probably, wing backs, Robinson and Dest. That's probably what I would do. But, we have options too. Musah can play in midfield. Gio Reyna can play as the second striker. You could bench Reyna. You could put Musah in there. You could have Tim Weah as the second striker. Lots of options. John, do you think 3-4-3 diamond would work with our roster? I don't love the diamond in midfield. You don't really get enough width with it because in the 3-4-3 diamond, the front three are very narrow, so you don't get enough width going. It's a very narrow formation, so I don't love it for those reasons. Do you think Tim Ream might get another call-up in qualifying? He's been playing pretty good for Fulham, and Greg seems to like him. He might, knowing Greg. We need to move on from Tim Ream, though. Tim Ream is 33 now. He's been in decline for quite some time. And we just have better defenders. I mean, right now, we've got Brooks, we've got Robinson, we've got Richards, and we've got Zimmerman. There's no need, in my opinion, to bring Tim Ream anymore. He's slow. He's extremely slow. Cannot defend in isolation. And is just a liability at the back. He just is. Adams warming up. Woohoo! I think Leipzig is going to try to protect this lead, which is exactly what you have Adams on the field for. So that's good to see. But Nate, which of the 4 defenders I just mentioned do you kick off for Tim Ream? Right? Who is Tim Ream better than? Is he better than Chris Richards? No. Is he better than Miles Robinson? Not in my opinion. Is he better than John Brooks? Hell no. Is he better than Walker Zimmerman? Certainly not right now. So I don't really know who do you kick off for Tim Ream. Maybe McKenzie. Maybe. But even then, I don't know. I'm not so sure. All right. Opinion on Long in December camp. I don't know how fit he is. I think probably it means that Greg Berhalter still rates him very highly because he brought him into the last camp, even though he wasn't fully fit. And then he brought him here again. I don't know how fit he is. I don't know how long, if he's even going to play. The problem with Aaron Long is that while he is a very good athlete, he's very, very poor with his feet. Very poor. And I think we have better defenders now. Like, I didn't mind him there before because, Richards was still young. Robinson was still developing, but now I just don't know why we would have Aaron Long there. He might be my fifth choice, but I just don't think, I think, again, when you go to a place like Qatar, when you go to a World Cup, I don't know that Long is going to be able to cut it at that level, right? John, why is Jackson on the roster? Big question for all of us. Big question. We don't really know. Did Tyler Adams come on? That's not Tyler Adams. That's Mohamed Simakan, the defender, who's been responsible for a lot of poor defending this year. Would you like to see Odasawi in MLS to regain confidence and form? Odasawi's problem right now, Soccer Report, is less about confidence and form and more about attitude. From everything I've heard, the kid has real attitude problems. It was true at Wolves. It was true when he was called into the national team back in November of last year for those friendlies. In fact, he was sent home early, as I understand it, for some attitude issues. And he's been having some attitude issues at Bruges as well. Now, he's young. He can continue to improve. But like David Ochoa, mentality is one of the best predictors for long-term success of a player. So I like Odasawi. I think he has talent, but he's going to have to fix up here, right, before he's ready to start playing again. Maybe he is already, and maybe that's why he's back on the bench for Bruges. We'll see. We'll see how he does. I think the kid has a lot of talent, but not. But yeah, we just have to see how he develops. Okay. If Miles goes to Europe, are there any likely MLSers in Qatar if we are at full strength? Zimmerman could be in Qatar. I could see that. If we bring 4 defenders, it could easily be Richards, Robinson, Zimmerman, and Brooks, right? So Zimmerman could be there. Turner could be there. If Pepi doesn't go to Europe, he could be there. Acosta could technically be there too. Acosta could absolutely be there. So let's see. Oh, that's a foul. It's going to be a Kevin De Bruyne curler probably. He's more focused on being a Burberry model than playing soccer. Yeah, that's Odasawi. Good point, Jake. So did Adams not come on? Oh, is this Joseph Guardiola? He's another guy that's been was really poor this season under Jesse Marsch. Really poor. All right, if De Bruyne scores this, don't anybody put it in the chat. I want to watch it live because I'm just behind you. I'm just behind you all. John, didn't we get a new assistant coach for the national team? Yes, we did. Luchi Gonzalez of FC Dallas, replacing Estevez, who became the FC Dallas coach. So we now have 2 coaches, 2 assistant coaches who failed in MLS, but we'll talk about that later. Nope, not today, De Bruyne. Not today. Boom, 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 boom. Luis Maldonado. How tall are you, Pete? I am 5'11". So yeah, we have Luchi Gonzalez now, who's an assistant. I had the privilege of when I did my coaching badges in Dallas, and there was an FC Dallas when Shellis Hinman was still there. He was the coach. They had a like a coaching kind of like not a seminar, but like a coaches camp for coaches to come and learn. So we got to watch Dallas first team training. We got to interact with some of their coaches. We got to look at some of their tactical ideas, how they evaluate players, blah blah blah. I didn't love it because Shellis Heineman was a college coach for his entire career and loved this like 4-4-2 long ball, which I thought was one of the reasons why Dallas was not very successful under him. But what I did enjoy from my time there was I met Luchi Gonzalez when he was the head of the academy, and I watched his training with the under 16 and the under 18 Dallas players. And the way not only did I like his ideas about the game and the way he trained tactically and the way he saw the game, I liked the way he interacted with the players. He was very good, I thought, at holding them accountable and holding them to very high standards and not allowing them to sort of cruise, which can happen sometime with young players at the academy level. They think they've made it because they're in the Dallas Academy. He had some good years with Dallas, but, ultimately was fired for poor play. I think partially that Dallas was let down by their signings. Whoever's in charge of scouting at FC Dallas needs to find a new job because they keep signing these awful, awful players who don't pan out. And so I still think that Lucci's a good coach, and we'll see how he does. But I think that Estevez is a big loss for the U.S. because from what I've heard, he was one of the people who actually persuaded Greg to move away from the 4-4-2 mid-block that he played in most of 2019. So that's a big loss. We'll see how he does at Dallas. Who's really surprising that they're on the staff is the British guy, Anthony Hudson, who failed at Colorado so epically and then blamed the players and said, got a bottom group of players here, bottom group of players. And then, what's his name? The current coach comes in with pretty much the same group of players and wins the West. So it's like, well, maybe the players wasn't the problem then, Hudson. And he became the under-20 coach and then was quickly promoted to assistant first-team coach. So, I mean, look, there are some coaches who are better assistants than first-team coaches. And maybe that's the case with Anthony Hudson. I'm not convinced that he's really the best guy to be, I'm not convinced that Hudson is the best guy to be an assistant coach. It makes me a little angry that a guy who's been that poor. And by the way, his other thing, like at New Zealand, he did nothing special at all. Before that, he coached Bahrain's under 23s. I mean, he's got no real track record to speak of apart from Colorado and New Zealand. So, but that's a whole different discussion. Boom, 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 boom. Still no Tyler Adams. It's 1-0, 52nd minute. Leipzig is largely playing on the counterattack here. They look really clueless, though, when they get the ball in the attack. Very clueless. Don't look like they have a lot of ideas. Steffen has been very quiet. Nothing much to do in this second half. Had a lot more to do in the first half. Jake, Pete, with the athletes in the U.S., do you think we would be top 5 in the world if soccer was the main sport here? Yes. Yeah, I would say not even top 5. I would say number 1, because the U.S. does athleticism like nobody else in the world, right? We just do everything from sports science to psychology to injury prevention and recovery. We cultivate a sporting mentality, right? It's like closely woven into American DNA is sports, right? It's in our schools. We place high emphasis on it in high school, in college, more so than anywhere else I've seen in the world. We're a sporting country and we value sporting success. And so you combine that with, like, imagine if LeBron James grew up playing street soccer with his friends, right? Playing futsal. Imagine what kind of a player he would be today, right? I think we would be number one. And I honestly don't think we even need our best athletes all playing soccer to be number one in the world. That's the beauty of our country. If we started taking soccer more seriously, and we're starting to, and started developing better players the right way, we have so much talent in this country and so much diversity of talent in this country. And we have such a massive population. And you combine all of that with our sporting culture, we could easily be number one in the world. And by number one, I mean regularly challenging for World Cups. All right. Didn't Usain Bolt fail at soccer? Yes, Walter, because he failed because he started playing soccer too late. You can't start playing soccer in your 20s and then go, oh, I'm not good at soccer. It's like, yeah, but, maybe Usain Bolt, if he had started playing soccer when he was 3, right, would have been a great soccer player. We don't know. We don't know. But also, Usain Bolt is not American. He's Jamaican, right? Big difference. Just Alex. If it was the number one sport here, we'd have futsal courts at every park. Yes, we would. By the way, Charlotte FC, I'm going to try to get somebody from Charlotte to come talk about this, but they are apparently doing a lot of really good stuff in Charlotte itself. They have a plan to erect 22 futsal courts in and around Charlotte that are open to the public and open to, people to come play futsal, to play mini soccer, which is very exciting to see. We need most of America to do that. We need futsal courts in every inner city. We need it in every small city. We need it in every park, in every suburban area. We need futsal courts that are open to the public for people to play. That is how we will make better players in this country. Not coaches telling 6-year-olds how to play soccer. Not 10-year-olds playing 11v11 soccer, which happens way too much in this country. Way too much. When I was coaching in Chicago, I had my U10 boys were playing 9v9, and my U13 girls were playing 11v11. Biggest joke I've ever seen. Biggest joke I've ever seen. All the leagues do it. Not all, but most of them do it. And luckily, we did play futsal in the winter, so that was good to see because it's so freaking cold in Chicago. We played indoor soccer in the winter, and I was happy to see that. We played futsal, we played indoor, and I thought to myself, the technical development that you could see in the players from November to March was massive. And then we would go back outdoors and we would play 11v11 soccer again. And it would halt their development. And I thought to myself, if we could play indoor and futsal, 10 months out of the year for, from the time they're 6 years old all the way to their 17, 18, maybe not 17, 18. By 14, 15, you should play 11v11 soccer. But those are the development years, right? The technical development years until you're 14. Play indoor, play small-sided, 5v5, lots of touches on the ball, tight spaces, quick thinking, high tempo, technical ability, trumps athleticism. That's what we needed to do, right? So we're getting there. I know there are some clubs doing it, right? And I know that, there are some MLS clubs doing very good work with their academies. And already it's taking us quite high. You can see the improvement. You can see the progress. Now imagine if everybody was doing it. Imagine if every MLS club had an academy like Dallas. Imagine if futsal was played by not just MLS club, every USL academy, every DA academy, every MLS Next, every NISL, all the leagues played futsal from a young age. Imagine if in the inner cities there were futsal courts and anybody could come and play anytime for free. Imagine if in the inner cities of America, kids could go play futsal instead of basketball, right? Because look, the best NBA players in America are who? They're kids from inner cities who grow up playing street ball, right? They grow up playing street ball and that develops their skills. And then they go play in the NBA. Now we need that same mentality in soccer. And if we do, we could be the number one soccer team in the world. Number one. And it wouldn't even be close. And I know that sounds outrageous to say, but I really believe that. I really do believe that. Nobody does sports like America. And when we take a sport really seriously, we're very hard to beat. Very, very hard to beat. Red Bulls have opened around 10 futsal courts in the Newark, New Jersey area. Yes. Good to hear it, Chris. Are those futsal courts open to the public is my question. Are they open to the public to play, or do you have to pay to go use them? Because that stops a lot of kids, right? The pay to play situation. So if they have to pay money to even play, then that's different. They should be open to the public. Quickly from Johnny on thin ice here. So do you recommend getting my kid into futsal until they're 14, 15? 100%, Johnny. If you want your kid to be as technical and as skillful and as dominant on the ball as you want them to be, play as much futsal and small-sided soccer as you can. 5v5, 3v3. Play with them in the backyard, right? Do 1v1 stuff with them in the backyard. Have them invite their friends over for organize 3v3 and 4v4 games in the backyard. Go to the park and get pup goals and play 3v3, 4v4. Play futsal. Play as much uncoached soccer as they possibly can. Let them figure out the game on their own. Let them get lots of touches on the ball. Let them develop skills. Let them problem solve as much as possible on their own. And then when they're a little older, you can start. And you can do both, right? You can have them in an academy 3 days a week. And, whatever, if they're playing 11v11, fine. More time playing soccer is always good, right? It's the 10,000 hour rule. The more time they play soccer, the better. But then the other 2 days, have them play futsal, have them play small-sided soccer as much as possible. That would be my advice. But that's good to hear about Red Bulls, Chris Humongous. Adam Wilton with a very good point. The combined futsal goals and basketball hoops like they have in Spain would be awesome everywhere in the States. So, yeah, I agree. I know that what's his name was doing that. Who's the guy who was running for soccer president? He used to play for the national team, and I think he was developing something like this. I think he invented it himself. But I don't know what he's up to these days. I don't know if he's still doing that, actually. I should try and find out. Anybody remember his name? I don't remember his name. Just Alex. That just sounds like a way for parents to get pissed off. LOL. You're not teaching them anything. But you can explain to parents, right? I had the same problem. That was Kyle Martino. Thank you, Dan. I'm going to talk about Kyle Martino in just a second. But yeah, I agree with you. I had this problem in India, okay, where I was coaching at an academy and I was organizing 3v3 games for young players. And I didn't stop the game that much. Very rarely would I stop the game and coach. Mostly because I felt we only had 3 training days a week and I wanted them to get as much time on the ball and less time listening to me yap my ass off was better. So you can explain to parents. So parents would get not mad, but they would be like, how come, And I would explain to them. I was like, listen, at this age, it's more important for them to figure things out on their own than for them to, listen to a coach talk, right? Kids don't want to listen to a coach talk when they're 6 years old. They can't even receive a lot of the information you're giving them. Or if they can receive it, it doesn't translate to their feet that much unless you're very good at explaining it or asking them questions. So at most, I would ask them a question. Maybe they received a pass and they lost the ball. And I would say, I'd stop and I'd say, hey, why do you think you lost that ball? What happened? And, if it was a body shape issue, I would let them figure out if that's what it was. Like if you're facing the goalkeeper and you receive the ball from the goalkeeper and then you try to turn and you get tackled, I'll be like, what happened there? And this, I don't know. It's like, where were you facing? I was facing the goalkeeper. What do you think that's why you lost the ball? No. Really? Are you sure? What if you were facing the other way? Like, what if you had turned around and faced the field? Could you see the goalkeeper giving you the ball? No. Okay, so what's the solution then? Maybe I should be sideways on? Bingo. Because if you're sideways on, you can see the goalkeeper and you can see the field and you can receive the ball and you can also see who's coming to tackle you, right? Boom, done. Then you back off and the next time they got it. You see? So simple stuff like that you let them figure it out. Tyler Adams is coming on. That's awesome. Daniel Hatton. The academy that is futsal, based in Cincinnati, is $2,500 plus uniforms and tournament fees. I almost pulled the trigger, but that's a ton for a kid that does 2 other sports. Yeah, gosh, this is the problem, right? $2,500. And the fact is you can afford it, right? Even though you didn't do it, you could at least consider doing it because you had the money. Imagine how many kids would love to play futsal but can't afford it. And how many kids are we losing? Nice work by Steffen there with a header to keep the ball. Yeah, I don't know what to do, guys. I just encourage your parents, if you can't afford futsal for your kid, then try to get them into any academy or teams that play small-sided soccer, even if it's 7v7, better than 11v11, right? The more they can get touches, the more they can play on smaller pitches, the more they can play futsal, the better, even if that means twice a week or even once a week. Here's the thing you can do as a parent. Have a soccer party. If you have a backyard, have a soccer party at your house, okay? Once a week, you have a futsal game. You invite your son's friends or your daughter's friends to come over, and you put up pup goals in the back and have them play 4v4 or 5v5, even if it's just once a week, right? That's another way. No coaching, right? Just them playing soccer together, right? And then you serve lemonade and oranges or whatever. So, yeah, that's something you can do. So Tyler Adams is on now. Steffen hasn't had a ton of saves to make, but has been pretty decent with his feet from what I've noticed. Or decent, yeah, as in done what he's supposed to do. Chelsea is not playing Atletico Madrid this week. They're not playing each other. Chelsea is playing the Russian team. I can't remember the name. What's the team that they play? It's a Russian team this year. Luis Maldonado. I'm 22 years old and people are talking about their kids. Yeah, but keep that in mind for one day. Or, Luis, if you ever coach, which you're getting your coaching licenses, right? If you ever coach, think about this. Think about this stuff because it's really important. Really important. This is a really good point from AC. And not only that, futsal, in my opinion, generates more interest / enthusiasm from younger kids. When I was 12 years old, left back soccer was brutal because many games you might see the ball 3 times in a game. Exactly. You play a full game, 11v11, you barely touch the ball. So you're not getting better. You know what you're getting good at? Running up and down the field. That's all you're doing. You're not getting skill on the ball. And that's why so many kids, it's a huge problem. If you go look at the numbers, kids are leaving the sport. The drop-off after 12 years old in soccer participation is huge because it's not fun for kids to do that. It's not fun and it's not developing them. And they don't get any time on the ball, and so they don't improve, and so they get demotivated. And you know who ends up sticking around? The kids who have success. Who has success at that level? The athletes who rely on their athleticism, not their skill, and then it translates into soccer all the way up the pyramid, right? So it's something we need to do better at, and I think we are starting to see change in certain places, and we're seeing results. Look at what the academies are starting to produce. We're seeing more going the right way, but we still need to do more if we want to be. Look, what we're doing now is fine if we want to be forever what we've been for the last 20 years, which is plucky underdogs on a world stage who will work hard and defend and grind out results with set pieces and quick counterattacks. Grind out results until we play a decent team at the World Cup and then get sent home. If we want to be that forever, then what we're doing now is just fine. And we might even come up with a Pulisic, or there are outliers. You can come up with some good players who can, maybe, Landon Donovan take you a little bit up to the next level. But if we want to be a regularly spoken of in the same tones as Brazil, Argentina, France, Germany, England, we have to do better. Otherwise, this generation that we have right now is going to end up being like Belgium or Chile, who had a good generation but wasn't developing the same kind of players. And so once the golden generation is over, the level drops. That's what's going to happen with Belgium. I don't think they're going to be great in Qatar. Just my opinion, though. Just my opinion. Anyways, let's get back to the game. Guys, let me know if you want me to talk more about the game, because I think this is a great excuse to hang out. I'll talk a little bit about the game, but there's so many other fun topics to cover. Leipzig in possession. Adams is on the field. Feels like the tempo of this game is very slow now. I don't know if Red Bull is just trying to keep possession to try to protect this lead. And Manchester City, do they care enough to really win this? I don't know. Back to Zack Steffen. I mean, this was mainly to watch Zack Steffen and Tyler Adams for me. Oh, yeah. What about Martino? So from what I understand, Kyle Martino was trying to develop this thing where you could put goals in basketball pitches all over the country. He had a couple of podcasts about it. I don't know what happened with Kyle Martino. I haven't heard anything from him in a while. I know he mentioned that he had some issues with his mental health that he was struggling with. I know he doesn't really commentate anymore. So I don't know if he's still working on that, but it was a very worthwhile project, I thought, because he was trying to get futsal goals in basketball courts all over the country. And I thought that was a great thing to develop soccer long term, but I don't know if he's still doing that. Just play 3v3. It's good drill for developing your dribble, decision, stamina. I love playing that way. Yeah. 3v3 is fantastic. When I do fitness, when I was in India and I was coaching in the second division for fitness, one of the owners was like, how come you're not, making them run laps around the track for fitness? And I was like, that's not fitness. That kind of fitness is endurance. That's for marathon runners. The kind of fitness that I want is VO2 max. And if I can train fitness while improving skill on the ball, that's what I'm going to do. So we would play 3v3 for 4 minutes nonstop. And anytime I had a bunch of balls with me, all the assistant coaches had 10 balls, and they were playing 3v3. And the minute a ball went out, I kicked a new ball in. There was no throw-ins. There was no corners. There was none of that. And for 4 minutes, it was just nonstop 3v3. So high intensity for 4 minutes, 1 minute of rest. Then again, 3v3 for 4 minutes, 1 minute of rest. And that's the best way to train fitness for soccer. Oh, Leipzig's going to score, apparently. Thanks for ruining it, guys. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. They just gave that away, huh? Yeah, I don't know that that's on Steffen. Silva scores. He did seem a little slow to get down, not going to lie. Ooh, I don't know. Maybe he was slow to get down. Could he have saved that? Hard to say. I feel like a better goalie would have saved that. Yeah, it's true. He was being shielded. It's true. You're right, Lee. It's possible that he didn't see which way the guy was shooting. Definitely, you can't say that's Steffen's mistake. I think the only thing you can ask is, could he have done better? And even then, I don't know if the answer is yes. I need to get a goalkeeping coach to weigh in on some of this stuff, because I'm not a goalkeeper. Never been a goalkeeper. Never coached goalkeepers. So whatever I say about the goalkeepers, don't take me too seriously, guys. I am not a goalkeeping expert by any means. But that was terrible defending by Man City. Terrible. It's kind of sad that, as soon as Jesse Marsch gets fired, Leipzig wins. Bad defending, but a really good goalkeeper would save that. Pete, do you think Steffen could get a loan in January? I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think they want to keep him there. I just don't really understand why Zack Steffen is there. What's in it for him apart from good training? and 10 games a year. I know he'll get FA Cup and he'll get, League Cup, and he'll get, one dead rubber Champions League game. I don't know. I'm confused. I'd rather he be playing regularly. I just would. Owen Jones. Okay. I'm a sophomore in college and I'm probably going to minor in coaching. Would this help me get a youth coaching job in the future, or are there better routes to take? So I think the best way to go in terms of getting a job, Owen, is to do your coaching licenses. Okay. But there is no such thing as learning more and studying more being a bad thing. That will go on your resume, right? And that might give you a leg up in terms of a guy who maybe has coaching on his, like his coaching licenses, but he didn't study coaching in college. I would say you need both. I did both. I got my degree in coaching in England, specifically in coaching football. But I also did my coaching licenses here in the US. So I did both. I would recommend doing both. And if you have to choose a minor, choose it in something that you love, something that you're passionate about. You seem to be passionate about soccer, or you wouldn't be here. And you have Christian Pulisic as your avatar. So I would say you would be passionate about it, and I think you would learn a lot. And I would say go for it. It'll be good on your resume, and you'll learn something for sure. So. Justin Poe, do you plan on attending any World Cup games in 2026? Hopefully. I mean, it's a long way off to be making plans for sure. Who knows where I'll be or what will happen, or, will I still be on YouTube? Will I be alive? Who knows? That's 5 years away. I honestly haven't thought that far away. Luis Maldonado, me and Owen, future USMNT coaches. Yes, go for it. Pursue your dreams. Ernesto, this is a good question. Sorry. Can you give an example of what coaching jobs require which coaching licenses? For most academies, they require you to at least have a D license in the US, as I understand it. I think it probably varies from state to state, but definitely I would say get your coaching licenses, even though I think they're a little bit one-dimensional and they don't always serve the coaches in the best way. And I think it's how US soccer wants you to coach, which is extremely limited in my opinion. It's still a good exercise because it forces you to think about the game. It forces you to think about how you see the game. And it forces you to be able to prove in these licenses that you can coach, that you can take a topic, that you can teach it, not just on paper, but on the field, that you can identify coaching moments. I don't always love the format or the style, but I think it's a very good exercise. And certainly if you want to coach, most decent academies will require you to have a D license. So yes, do that for sure. Nice goal from Manchester City, 2-1. But Mana Live, NYA. It's not a democracy. All right, so it's 2-1, 78th minute. Tyler Adams is on. Thoughts on DeJuan Jones? Needs a call up at left back, in my opinion. Had Euro interest too. I'd be open to seeing it. I'd be open to seeing him. Probably should have gotten a call up this time, but it depends. I would probably rather have Kevin Paredes and Jonathan Gomez, specifically Jonathan Gomez. But maybe in January, bring him into camp. For some reason, they didn't call him in. I guess because they already called in Jonathan Gomez and Kevin Paredes. I think both of those guys have higher ceilings than DeJuan Jones, who's already 23. I'm just not sure about DeJuan Jones's ceiling, right? It's sort of the same issue of Acosta of and to be honest, it's the same issue of Sam Vines and George Bello. I look at them now and I just don't think either of them is going to help us to jump to the next level in terms of becoming the team that we need to be. They both seem very technically limited to me. So might be the same situation with DeJuan Jones. That being said, if you don't have a better option, you don't have a better option. You have to go with the best option available. But if we have Anthony Robinson and Jonathan Gomez and Kevin Paredes, I would probably prefer one of those. Isaac, do you think playing less important games is hurting Steffen's confidence? No, I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think his confidence might have more to do with him not playing regularly, or it could just be a mentality thing too. Let's wait and see. Okay, 80th minute, goal kick for Man City. It's 2-1 to RB Leipzig. Leipzig, as my friend Josie likes to say. She's from Leipzig. Ooh boy, this is a tough one. Who are your top 5 left back options at the moment? Anthony Robinson for sure is my number 1. My number 2 is probably Joe Scally, even though he's not really a left back. Number 3. Ooh. You know what? Am I not even live? Am I? Maybe I am live. There we go. Now I'm live. No, I'm not talking about here. I'm talking about on the thing because I rewinded it a little bit. I rewinded the TV a little bit to see if they could replay something for me. Okay, so Anthony Robinson, Joe Scally, Jonathan Gomez, George Bello, Kevin Paredes. Those would be my 5 right now. Or, Bello and Vines kind of interchangeable to me, personally. I just don't know. Bello is younger than Vines, so I have a little bit more hope that maybe he can, his arc can improve. The problem with Bello is that I haven't really seen him improve in the last 2 years. So when you see a young player who's not really getting any better, you wonder if that's just kind of their ceiling, or if he's a late bloomer. I don't know. Still seems very one-footed and one-dimensional to me. Same with Vines. At least Vines, though, is now an environment where he will be forced to improve, right? He will be forced to get better. And I think he will learn and benefit from being in Europe. Ooh, red card. Oof. John Token is another interesting one. Yes, I like John Token a lot. Still very, very young. Still just 18, I believe. So definitely one to watch. Okay, Frank Kassler says, Tack did. Ooh, Kyle Walker off. Red card. Let's see the tackle. Oh, yeah, that's a red card. He just kicked him in the back of the legs. Andre Silva. That is 100% a red card. 100%. He looks like such a thug, Kyle Walker. Everything about him, his demeanor, his air, the way he plays, screams like thug. I don't know why. But a lot of English players have that look about them. Okay. Top 15. Okay, so I'm not going to do top 15 in order because I don't think that's very I don't think that's easy, but I'll give you roughly what I think the top 15 are. He likes to hold sex parties too. I did not hear that. Where did you hear that, Dan? Okay. So the top 5 for me is still easy. It's England, Italy, Germany, Spain, and France. Not necessarily in that order. I'm just saying. For me, that's top 5. Then right after that is Portugal and Holland. Those are the next 2. And immediately after that is, for me, Belgium, and then the championship, the English championship. After that is where it gets tougher. So those are my 9. The next 6 would probably be Austria, maybe at 10. Russia at 11. Brazil at 12. Argentina at 13. Mexico at 14, MX, and then MLS at about 15. That's where I would put it. I mean, oh, wait, Turkey. I completely forgot about Turkey. Yeah, no, Turkey is definitely top 15. Turkey might be 10 or 11 and then follow. So the MLS wouldn't be top 15, maybe 16th for me. Yeah, how did I miss Turkey? But again, those are not exactly like, Brazil could be ahead of Russia, Argentina could be ahead of Russia, but roughly those would be my top 15. And then just after that, maybe you put MLS there. So about 16th in the world is where I would put him right now. Did you see Miles Robinson's interest from multiple Bundesliga and Premier League clubs? CN Productions, I would just wait on that and see how much of it is real, how much of it is, Twitter. It's a Twitter rumors. I wouldn't trust Twitter rumors just yet, especially because some of the sources perpetuating those Twitter rumors are not great. The club has said that there's no interest in Miles Robinson as of right now. So I don't know. I would trust the club over some Twitter rumors. 86th minute, another sub for RB Leipzig. Leipzig, as my friend Josie likes to say. Let's see. So those are my top 15, Frank. I'm not sure how they compared to Tax, but Andre Silva is off after being kicked by Kyle Walker. Beating Manchester City 2-1. Interesting. Honestly, Manchester City looks like they don't really care in this game. They don't seem to care that much. All right. 4 more minutes left. Sorry, guys. My throat is starting to go, so I apologize if I'm talking a little less than... Yeah, it was Roger Gonzalez from CBS Sports. Roger, I'm going to be honest with you, CN Productions loves to talk a big game on Twitter about rumors. He isn't the most reliable source. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, a lot of interesting rumors coming out of him. What? According to Phil Neville, it's one of the best leagues in the world. Did he actually say that, Dan? That would be hilarious if he actually said that. It's how to keep your job when you're not a very good coach. Just suck up to the league that you're in. Phil Neville was one of those guys who's only a coach because he was a player. I don't think he's a very good coach. What club would you like to see Miles Robinson go to? So if he goes somewhere, which he should, I think, I would prefer to see him start somewhere like the Championship or Holland or Belgium or maybe lower tier French league or lower tier Bundesliga. I still think he has things he can improve on. My concern with Miles Robinson is timing, right? If he goes to a big club now, he may not play that much. And that would not be good going into Qatar, right? So, I'd say Championship, Holland, Belgium, Portugal, somewhere where he'll get guaranteed or at least very regular minutes for sure. And then after that, maybe go up the next level, but start with a little bit smaller just to be safe, going into Qatar. Cassidy Higdon. Wildest thing I've ever heard is Alexi Lalas asked someone in a Twitter space if they think Leggett couldn't tear it up at Venezia. Tell him, based on the fact that he couldn't tear it up at LA Galaxy, very unlikely he could tear it up in Serie A. Stuttgart, I could see that be an interesting shout, Kyle. Stuttgart for sure. Yeah, I can see that CN Productions. I can see Bundesliga, like a lower end Bundesliga team. Let's see. Would you rather work for ESPN or Fox Sports? I don't know. I don't think I would work for either, to be honest. I just, if you work for any of those productions, you have to adopt a certain way of being and talking about the game, and you have to you can't say whatever you want, right? You can't speak your mind freely about the game. So if I was to work for one of those, it would have to be with the understanding that I could say whatever I wanted. And by that, I mean about the game. Obviously, I'm not saying I should curse on television, but being able to speak freely and to criticize freely and to give my honest thoughts and not be worried about, am I saying something that the powers that be don't like, you know? So the reality is that the American soccer media is heavily entrenched in the soccer landscape, and they're very much like this. And there's a lot of crossover, and there's a lot of and there's a lot of people who are in the soccer media who are very close friends with the powers that be. And so they won't criticize them, and they won't ever offer real, honest, criticism. I couldn't do that. So I would rather work on YouTube and just sort of be able to say what I want to say and give my honest thoughts. And I also think that, like, guys, cable television is dying, right? Why do you think they're all going to streaming? Cable television is dying. It is, and it's going to continue to die the death over the next 5-10 years. People just, like, there are more young people cutting the cord now than ever. So it's interesting to see how these big networks are they all going to become streaming eventually? What's it going to be? I don't know. So wait and see. Oh, no. Yellow for Tyler Adams. Nice little foul on Jack Grealish. I low-key like that. All right, free kick for Manchester City. We're in extra time. 3 minutes to go. Or not getting the cord at all. Yeah, exactly. Pete should go undercover as an informant at Fox Sports to spy on Alexi Lalas. Cord cutting and yet still somehow paying more than ever. Yeah, but the beauty is you don't have to watch advertisements as much, right, when you're cutting the cord. If I watch Netflix, I don't have to watch a single advertisement. Whereas if I watch, say HBO, do you know how many advertisements I have to watch during my TV show? It's like, look, if you're going to show me advertisements, I should get this for free, right? The way that you guys do on YouTube, right? On YouTube, you watch advertisements, right? There are ads on YouTube, but it's free. You don't pay anything for it, so you accept that you can watch a few ads. If you're paying for it and you have to watch ads, that doesn't make any sense, and it especially doesn't make sense to the modern generation, right? So if you're gonna pay for something, no ads. If I'm gonna watch it for free, sure, I'll watch some ads if it's free. Thank you very much, Football Kings. Hey, Pete, how are you? Love your content, even though I'm a Mexico fan. Thanks, man. You're one of the great Mexico fans. Last window was torture for us, but at least the 3 North American teams are on the verge of qualifying, hopefully in January. Yeah, I think, honestly, we will. I do think those 3, Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. will hit top 3, and I think Panama will get 4th spot. And then they'll play New Zealand, and they'll have every chance, if they play New Zealand, to make it into the national team. So, thank you, though. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. All right, guys, last minute, and then I'm going to sign off here. It's 2-1 to Red Bull Leipzig over Manchester City. Decent game from Zack Steffen. Question marks on both goals. I don't think they're clearly his fault. The question you got to ask is, could he have done better? Maybe, maybe not. It's a tough thing. Again, I honestly don't know the answer to that. I'm not a goalkeeping expert, so I have to ask somebody else that. But Steffen did make a lot of good saves and was pretty good with his feet. So in every other aspect, I thought he was very good. Let's wait and see, though. Let's wait and see. Humongous Chris, thanks for the stream at 11 Yanks. Had fun hanging out. Oh, thanks, man. It was fun to hang out, too. It's fun to hang out. Always good to hang out for these streams. I'm going to try to do more Champions League streams. Champions Leagues with Americans in them, because ultimately that's what this channel is all about. All right, game over. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming to Hangout. 2-1. So Leipzig well on their way to qualifying for Europa League. They can't make it out of the group stage already, but they are going to be in Europa League probably, especially with this result. So good for them. Zack Steffen gets his 5th game of the season for Manchester City. Let's see if he gets any more. I think there's one more left. He might play the last one, right? I think there is one more. I could be wrong, though. Anywho, thanks so much, guys, for coming to hang out. This is great. Have a great one. Were you in Buried in the Backyard? Yes, I was. Yes, I was. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.